This is the AHSAA Weekly, your inside look at everything going on with the Alabama High School Athletic Association, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union. I'm John Holder. Coming up on this week's show, a unique situation in high school football a couple weeks ago in Chilton County. There was one football game played at two locations. We will talk with the principals of Jemison High School and Thorsby High School about that game. Also, we will preview this week's AHSAA Game of the Week here on WOTM. It's Oak Mountain and Spain Park in Class 7A Region 3. We'll speak with Spain Park head coach Sean Rainey, also Oak Mountain head coach Tyler Crane. And of course, we'll have David Holtzford's highlights, bringing you highlights in both volleyball and football from all across the state of Alabama from last week's action. All of that and more on this week's edition of the AHSAA Weekly, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union.
Every bank has their own app, but it's just that, theirs. At AmFirst, our app was made for you, so you can personalize your dashboard, pay your bills, and redeem points for rewards you'll love. Get the app made for you at AmFirst.
Back on the AHSAA Weekly, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union. We have a very unique interview because we had a very unique situation that happened a couple of weeks ago in Chilton County. That was a football game that went on. That's not unusual. The lights went out. That's not unusual. That happens several times here at high school games across the state. But what happened after that involved a game on the same night being played in two locations, three different schools being involved. So we're going to hash all of this out. We have the principals at Jemison High School and also at Thorsby High School joining us. We have Kendall Jackson, principal at Jemison High School, and also Corey Clements, the principal from Thorsby High School, coming to us from Thorsby together. Folks, glad to have you with us here on the AHSAA Weekly.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let's dive in. I'll just let whichever one wants to go first and kind of set up and tell us about the situation and what happened a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I guess I lost power. We were playing, Jemison was playing Sipsey Valley at home. It was a region matchup. And right a little bit before the second half or halftime, I can't remember exactly where we were because my mind went a million different directions, but we lost power on the home side of our stadium. All of our lights went out. And at that point, we're scrambling, trying to figure out what we need to do to get things going. And unfortunately, Thorsby had their opponent cancel on them that night. And one of my parents reminded me, hey, Thorsby down the road, about 7 minutes from our campus, they may have their field ready. Why don't you call Mr. Clements and see if we could play there? Because we did not really know when the power company was going to make it to get our power restored. So I called out an SOS to Mr. Clements, and after lots of phone calls and conversations, we ended up playing a Jemison matchup with Sipsey Valley on Thorsby's football field. So they saved the day for us.
Well, Mr. Clements, let me ask you a question about this, kind of your perspective on what happened. Normally, a principal, you don't get many Friday nights off. You had an open Friday night, but then all of a sudden, you're working maybe as hard as ever to get the stadium ready. What are some of the things you had to do to accommodate? You've got a lot of things on very short notice that you have to do to get this stadium ready to host a crowd. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, to start with, I don't like being off on Friday night. I coached for 19 years before I was principal, and I'm not used to being at home. And actually, we already had our field lined off and painted. It was about 2 o'clock Friday before we found out we weren't playing. So I was upset because we weren't getting to play. And actually, instead of getting mad, I said, well, I'm going to go spend some time with my mom. And I'd gone to my mom's house when Miss Jackson called me, and I was like, absolutely. Our field was ready to go. And basically, all I did, I drove to the field. I only live about 1.5 miles from the field. I drove to the field, unlocked all the gates, got the lights turned on, made sure all the bathrooms were ready for a game. And I called a friend of mine who was at the game, and I asked them what the score was. So I had the clock set and ready, had time on the clock. And really, by the time I got everything set up, there was a convoy of cars coming from Jemison. And basically they came on the field, warmed up, and had about 14 seconds, I think, to go in the second quarter, finished the quarter, and then rocked on and finished up the game.
Mr. Jackson, you mentioned that the two schools 7 miles or 7 minutes apart. You're 4 miles apart, so obviously, yeah, you're close. Everybody knows each other. There's also a rivalry aspect to it, but just the relationship. There has to be obviously a close relationship between not only the administration, but everybody involved, the coaches, the townspeople, the schools, the students, to pull off something like this, I would think.
Absolutely. Hats off to Sipsey Valley as well. They're not from here, but they were willing to make that quick move. No complaints. Hey, we all just got in our cars and came down. A lot of people have tried to put the spin of rivalry when it comes to Jemison and Thorsby. But like you said, we're 4 miles apart. Yes, we do go against each other, and we want our team to win when we're playing each other, whether it be on the football field, the basketball court, baseball field, wherever we go. But because we are so close, our kids work with each other. They go to church with each other. Families are split between the two schools. So we don't necessarily see it as a rivalry. We have been working together on various projects for several years. And so it was just natural that, when it was brought to my attention, hey, Thorsby's field may be ready to go. No hesitation. And to be honest, I knew that if Mr. Clements can make it work, he would make it happen, and vice versa. If Thorsby lost their lights and they needed our field, that's just what we do, because we have the approach of what is best for our kids and what's best for our communities.
Well, thanks to both of you. The AHSAA puts a real emphasis on sportsmanship, and what an example of sportsmanship this is to not only your communities, but to the entire state of Alabama. Thank you for sharing the story, and thank you for what you did a couple of weeks ago, and thank you also for sharing that story with us here on the AHSAA Weekly.
Thank you for having us. And I would love to thank Thorsby and Mr. Clements and Sipsey Valley and everybody coming together, because it was a community and a joint effort. So thank you so much for having us, and thank you to everyone for making that possible.
Kendall Jackson, principal at Jemison High School. Corey Clements, principal at Thorsby High School, our guest this week on the AHSAA Weekly.
Looking for a perfect checking account? Don't waste your time. No minimum balance, no monthly fees, and a convenient app. Now you could try and find that at a bank, or you could save yourself the trouble by checking with us.
Back on the AHSAA Weekly, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union. Coming up Thursday night here on WOTM, it's the AHSAA statewide game of the week, a Class 7A Region 3 battle in Metro Birmingham between Oak Mountain and Spain Park. We've got both head coaches standing by, the head coach of the Spain Park Jaguars, Coach Sean Rainey, and the head coach of the Oak Mountain Eagles, Coach Tyler Crane.
Well, the big thing for us this week is just work on competing. We just got finished with practice probably about 10 minutes ago. So we had a very good practice. We got after it really well. We pushed the guys a little bit past their limit and tried to really focus on doing the little things. That was something that really hurt us last Friday night. So we wanted to try to get that corrected today and the next 2 days.
Coach, let's talk about some of the players on your team. As folks tune in across the state and watch this game between Oak Mountain and Spain Park, who are some of the folks that they need to be looking for from Oak Mountain?
Offensively, you have to start with Evan Smith. He's probably one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete in the state of Alabama. There's really nothing he can't do. Running back wise, Trey Vassell, CJ Branson, receiver Cade George, Ethan Hammett. Well, we've got some really good guys that are, seniors this year that are really leading our team. We have some really good offensive linemen and Nick Rigdon, Mason Burnett, both seniors, but Luke Oswald, Sawyer Hodo. Those guys, they really hold their own. They're doing a really good job for us this year. And then defensively, Garrett Murphy, Jakai Mullen, Cam Atkinson. We've got some guys that can really play ball, and I've been very proud of them.
Coach, let's talk about the game with Spain Park. What do you see from this Spain Park team? Obviously, when you compete in 7A Region 3, and we'll talk about this in a moment, every week is tough. What do you see so far out of Spain Park?
I mean, they're well coached. They do what they're supposed to do. At the end of the day, it all goes back to us, doing the little things. And so, I think they do a good job of doing the little things right. We have to do a better job. It's going to be a war now.
Coach, let's talk about the rivalry aspect of this. These two schools about 3 miles apart, about as close as you can get. Everybody knows everybody. You've been in your coaching career and playing career, you've been in rivalry games like this where everybody knows everybody, and this is one of those games between Oak Mountain and Spain Park. Talk about the familiarity that the two teams have with each other.
It's funny. I pass it every day. I pass it every day coming to work and pass it every day going home. A lot of our kids, can see Spain Park from their backyard, and vice versa. Spain Park kids can see us. So, it's weird sometimes about how things are, lines are drawn and these kids go here and these kids go there. But, it is a big rival. It is. And, nobody from Oak Mountain wants to lose to Spain Park. And I'm sure nobody from Spain Park wants to lose to Oak Mountain. So it's definitely a rivalry.
Coach, your first year as head coach there at Oak Mountain, just talk about the difference between maybe being the assistant coach and being a head coach. You have plenty of coaching experience. You've coached at 7 different schools, and you've coached everywhere. It's really unique to me because you've coached everywhere from 1A to 7A and kind of all levels in between, of a wide variety of experience that not a lot of coaches have. Talk about that experience of being in the small schools and the large schools, and then also making that transition from assistant coach to head coach.
Well, I grew up at a small school. Cedar Bluff, we were 1A, and, I graduated with about 48 people. So, I enjoyed that aspect of it being there, but, having the opportunity to coach at a bigger level and, try to, push myself to get better each and every year. I've been very fortunate to have coaches give me opportunities to come and try to make their program better in any way that I could. I've been fortunate to, play for, Coach Steve Smith at Piedmont now. He was at Cedar Bluff when I was there. So, learning from him, Rusty Jakeway at Sandrock, Coach Nix at Central. I mean, everywhere I've been able to be around really, really good coaches. And, I try to take a little bit of everything that they do well and try to put it into my program. And, I think that's any great coach is good at taking little things that they learn along the way and, implement it into their program. But, I've been very blessed to have the opportunities that I have, and, never take it for granted. That's for sure.
Coach, thank you so much for spending time with us. Looking forward to seeing your team compete in that tough Class 7A Region 3 with Spain Park next week. Best wishes to your team. Thank you for joining us here on the AHSAA Weekly.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
It will be Oak Mountain taking on Spain Park. We're joined now by the head coach of the Spain Park Jaguars, Coach Sean Rainey. Coach Rainey, good evening. Glad to have you with us and welcome in to the AHSAA Weekly.
Thank you, John. Appreciate y'all having me on. Appreciate what y'all do for high school football.
Coach, as we look to your football team and what folks around the state next week when they're tuning in, you mentioned those seniors. Who are some of the guys that maybe folks can be looking for as they watch this game coming up next Thursday night?
Our quarterback, Evan Smallwood, has really had a good season. We've got a little running back named Zamir Ferris that's really good in return game and explosive running back for us. And defensively, we got a defensive end, Brian Austin. A lot of those kids are juniors, and so we've got a lot of younger kids that we're playing. And so we've kind of gained some experience these first 5 games. And so those are some of the names that you'll see and recognize once the game starts. They're tremendous players, tremendous kids, and make a lot of plays for us.
Coach, we talk about tough schedules a lot of times with coaches, but just by the very nature of being in 7A Region 3, maybe the toughest top to bottom region there is in high school football, not only in Alabama, maybe in the country with the teams that are in this region. Just explain to folks that maybe are not familiar maybe with 7A Region 3, just how tough this region is top to bottom.
Well, obviously, I think you got 3 of the top programs right now in the state in this region. And then, the other schools that like we played a Gadsden City team last week that's has tremendous athletes, are well coached, and it's every week. There's not a week where you can say, hey, we can kind of catch your breath and regroup and play some younger kids. And just look at your schedule and feel like you have a chance to win every game or also lose every game. And the tough part is if your margin of error is not real big, that keeps kids consistently for 10 weeks, very hard to do during the season. So that's one thing that we try to stress in our off season, which is a good thing because the kids understand what we're facing each week. So, but just every week, it's going to be a tough game, and you're going to have to play your very best to have a chance to win the football.
Let's talk a little bit about Oak Mountain. Obviously, you're very familiar with them. You're going to have been playing them for years. Really, since these two schools have opened up, you've been playing each other. And you're only just a couple of miles apart there in the South Metro of Birmingham. Tell people about the rivalry aspect and how well the folks from Oak Mountain and Spain Park know each other.
It is crazy because you'll have neighborhoods where one side of the street is Oak Mountain and one side is Spain Park. So when I come back to Alabama, I spent my first year at Oak Mountain. So I spent a year in that school, and it's a tremendous school with tremendous kids, and they're very similar schools. And our kids, grow up playing baseball and youth league football with a lot of those kids. So it's a great rivalry. Like I said, I think it's 3 miles from front door to front door. So there's a lot of relationships, coach and staff wise and everything like that. So it's a good rivalry. They've got a tremendous player that we went against since his freshman year, and Evan Smith, they're the quarterback. So it'll be a tremendous game, and he's a great player. And from what I've ever heard of him, he's a tremendous kid. So just to see a kid like that stays at the school and has a great career, I'm a fan of his, and I watch him play basketball. And so we'll have a huge challenge in front of us next week.
Coach, what do you think it is about this particular region? And most of these schools are very close together. We start talking about Hoover and Vestavia, folks like that are in this region, Thompson. What do you think it is, trying to explain to folks out there, that makes football so good at all of these schools? That includes your school as well there at Spain Park. Spain Park is tradition rich and has had great teams through the years. What is it about football in this 7A Region 3 that makes it as good and competitive as it is?
Well, it starts with the schools and the school boards and administration. They put a lot of emphasis in it. And then I think it goes to the coaching staffs. I think some of the best coaching staffs in the state, maybe in the country, are in this region also. So then you go to the fans, and the parents that raise money and support the program, and it's across the board in all these schools. And I think it's a tremendous deal for these athletes to get to experience this in high school. And I'm from Oklahoma originally, so I coach college, so I've been to high schools all across the country, and I feel like this is some of the best high school football, coaching-wise, school-wise, everything in the country. So just fortunate to be a part of it and enjoy every week the challenge that it brings.
Well, Coach, we're going to be very fortunate to bring a taste of Class 7A Region 3, of the great tradition, the great program that you have at Spain Park and at Oak Mountain, to a statewide audience here on Thursday night on WOTM. Thank you for spending time with us here on the AHSAA Weekly.
Every bank has their own app, but it's just that, theirs. At AmFirst, our app was made for you, so you can personalize your dashboard, pay your bills, and redeem points for rewards you'll love. Get the app made for you at AmFirst.
Closing out this week's edition of the AHSAA Weekly, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union, it is David Holtzford's highlights time. David Holtzford, the Alabama High School Athletic Association, putting together highlights from both volleyball and football and flag football from across the state of Alabama. Yes, I said flag football. That's where we will begin with flag football action between Opelika and Lochapoka. Jacqueline Button's team, 46-0 winners, Opelika over Lochapoka in girls flag football. We're going to pick up the action now. Opelika's quarterback in action. We're going to see her. This is Morgan Watts, displaying a strong arm with 3 touchdown passes, including this 20-yarder to Ashante Thomas, who turns around, catches the ball as she falls into the end zone, not once but twice. Watts would also prove to be a running threat, adding 80 yards and a touchdown to her stats. The Opelika defense held strong, forcing turnovers, with Amijah Dowdell making an interception, returning it 53 yards for Opelika's final touchdown of the game. And you see that right there. Great girls action between Opelika and Lochapoka playing each other down in Lee County. We move next to volleyball action as area races across the state head into their final matches this weekend. Next, we find reigning 7A state champion Hoover in top form in a match versus Tuscaloosa County in Area 5 play. Hoover defeated the Wildcats 3-0, thanks in big part to middle hitter Rhea McKinnon, who had 72 kills and 40 digs in Hoover's last 6 games, and outside hitter Kendall Mitchell, who added 22 kills and 8 blocks last week in Hoover's shutout win over Tuscaloosa County in the match that was played over at Hoover High School in the Metro Birmingham area. And now we have football highlights from across the state of Alabama, and we're going to bring you some local sportscasters bringing you the action this week across the NFHS network. We will begin with action in Alexander City at the Sportsplex. Alexander City beating Smith Station 40-37. Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee bringing you some of the action as we pick up second half action between Benjamin Russell and Smith Station.
Great job by Corey holding on to that football at the end with that tackle from the back.
1st and 10 at the 37. Gabe's going to counter, going to roll out here to the right. He's got a man wide open. He's going to throw it on the run. Wide open. Yeah. He's going to go. Touchdown. Wildcats. Newton McKinney. Gabe Benton hits him down the right. Man in motion's DeMarcus McNeil. Gabe Benton going to roll the pocket to the right. He's under pressure. Going to lob it into the end zone. He's got it. Touchdown. Oh, yeah. Corey Milner's one-on-one down here at the bottom. Shotgun snap, looking.
There it is.
Going into the corner. Corey Milner. Touchdown. Wildcats. What a great snap. Trips to the top, one to the bottom.
That's good.
Extra down for the Wildcats, maybe. Gabe going to take off and run down. He's got plenty of space. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Gabe Benton. Touchdown, Gabe Benton. 2nd down and 10. Low snap. Drop back, going to throw it down that far side. Turn around.
I love that matchup.
Oh, my God. He dropped it in the bucket.
Gabe a little time.
Shotgun snap.
Good job of blocking.
He's got him.
He's got him right here at the 40. Broken tackle, 45.
Go!
Midfield, 40.
Go!
35, 30.
Go!
25, 20.
Yeah!
10, go! Touchdown!
Next, we go to the Hartselle NFHS network, where we're going to see Hartselle's 58-21 win over Russellville. Here's highlights of that game.
Boots and King split wide to the right. Throwing the screen pass out, intercepted by Hartselle by Walker Hall, and that is going to be a touchdown. Everything, and when I was watching that presentation, I was just blown away by how the players they all keep up with it. There's goals and how they all get into it. So Amick, it goes long, and Walker Hall.
And next, we take you to the Wiregrass for action between county rivals Geneva County and Geneva. This is the Geneva NFHS student broadcast team bringing you highlights of this game, which will feature one of the top running backs in the country, Geneva County running back Emmanuel Henderson.
There, so 2nd and 8 for the Bulldogs. Give to Henderson around the far side, some more holding, and he breaks loose, and that will be a touchdown for Hartford. 1st and goal from the 8 for Geneva. High snap. McReynolds finds us. Then he's in. Henderson bounces wide, finds some space, and he is gone. It's going to be a touchdown for Hartford. We need to pick up at least 5 or 6. There goes McReynolds out. Adams fakes it to him. Middle screen to Garner. And Preston Garner's going to score. Give to Talbert. He's got room. Kingston Talbert down the sideline. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Geneva. Kingston Talbert. 2nd and 7. Another low snap.
And Geneva hangs on for a 26-25 win. Next, we take you to Piedmont. Calhoun County rivals Jacksonville and Piedmont will pick up the action with Jacksonville leading 45-42, and will capture the monumental comeback from the Piedmont Bulldogs as they come back to win the game, and they scored 100 points combined in this game in northern Calhoun County.
Single right is Estes. It's Reed and Thornton inside to hand off to Morgan. Morgan breaks down the one. He's been out a couple times this season, but he's back, and that is Jim Ogle. He'll give to Morris. Morris down the right sideline. Morris is going to take it to the house. Not even Austin Estes. And we'll finish with 5A Alexandria, top 10 ranked team. Here's Hayes on third down, looking for a man. Throws it deep in the end zone. Oh. Dogs first and goal from the 7. Come on, boys. Hand off. The ball on the right hash mark. Ogle drops back. He's at the 27. Throws.
Top-ranked Class 7A Thompson visiting Mountain Brook, where the Spartans trying to knock off the #1 ranked team in 7A, the Warriors. Here's Jerry Young on the Thompson Warrior TV network.
Where you can. Colvin operate out of the shotgun. He'll put Thompson in motion. He's back to pass. Left-handed passer. Throws it. It's intercepted. Intercepted down the sideline. He's to the 20. 10-5. Touchdown. 22 seconds to go in the first half. Connor Harrell got time, steps up, he's going to run it. He'll dive. Did he get it? Yes. Touchdown, Thompson. Connor Harrell takes it. So they've given it to the workhorse here twice. Now we got it 3rd and 1. Spread it out again. Connor Harrell to keep it. He's going to pass it. Got a man wide open. 30, 40. That's JP. Pegues to the 40. He's to the 30. Nobody's going to catch him. Bye-bye, Pegues. Touchdown, Thompson. 10 Thompson.
And Thompson rose to its 24th consecutive victory with a 51-0 win over Mountain Brook. And we close out this week's highlights with highlights from our AHSAA Game of the Week right here on WOTM. Gadsden City and Oxford playing at Titan Stadium in Gadsden. Here's Mickey Shadricks and Gerhard Mathangani.
Very talented and explosive Gadsden City team.
Did a lot of damage in that first half as well with that young crew, and really led by junior quarterback Sam Robertson, who had a very strong game. Oxford's offense came out on fire, started deep in their own territory, but completed multiple third downs, kept that drive moving, held the ball for 9+ minutes. The Titan defense ended up blowing up, leading to this Ray Barrera 31-yard field goal to put Oxford on the board early on, but Gadsden City countered with some big plays, both in the special teams as well as on offense, and they were able to connect on some big plays down the field. Meanwhile, for Oxford, they held in it. Couple of missed opportunities for the Jackets as well as for the Titans, but you see the opening up, and that pass completed there to a guy that had a huge game, Kamari Smith, and then able to get into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game was Justin Peoples for Gadsden City.
Meanwhile, that Oxford defense got a big game tonight from Dobbins. He had 2 picks, had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. This sequence here was late in the first half. This was a big field goal here that gave the Titans a lot of momentum going into the locker room.
That certainly was huge there by Gabriel Berto, and that 24-yard field goal, as you said, made it 10-3. In that second half, Gadsden City really came out firing. Waldrop had a nice game overall, but you mentioned it. The turnovers were big, and he had a couple of picks here in this third frame, and a huge game today by Jordan Dobbins. There you see the second of those 2 interceptions, and he also had a fumble recovery as well. But the defense has really stepped up, but then when Gadsden City really needed a big play, they got it. Look at Smith's block on the outside, and Clyde Curry does the rest. A 44-yard touchdown made it 17-3. However, there was no quitting these Oxford Yellow Jackets. They ended up having a good drive, getting down, aided by a penalty by Gadsden City, and then Robertson hits Mikey Tippett for that 12-yard touchdown pass, but the extra point was no good, making it 17-9, and that incredible catch right there kept the drive alive for Gadsden City in a huge game where they ended up winning.
And here is the forced fumble, and Dobbins with the recovery. Again, what a huge night he had. But in the end, Gerhard, that Gadsden City defensive front just too much tonight. Titans win it over Oxford 17-9.
And that's going to wrap up this week's AHSAA Weekly.